Welcome everyone to another observability clinic, another dashboarding update. It's January 2024, and with me I have Thomas Ziegelbecker. Servus, Thomas.
Servus.
Hey, thank you so much for being back here because we try to continuously update our community on what's happening with dashboards, and it's about time because the last update has been a couple of months back.
Yep.
Thomas, lead product manager, show us what's new and what people need to get excited about.
Let's keep it simple. Today, I want to go into two topics. First being what's new, as you already mentioned. And the second is then a few words on how you can transition. So how you can go from your dashboard classic created dashboards to dashboards in the new dashboard app and leverage all the new features there. That I will show you in a sec. And as I promised, so what's new? Let's actually switch over to a demo board that I created. And quickly look at what happened until now in the last few months. You said few, I think it's almost half a year that I and Philip have been here. And maybe a short promotion even. Philip will, if I'm not mistaken, also do this on notebooks, so stay tuned. But most of this, and that's why I mentioned it, is relevant for both because almost all the features we do are usually shared between these two apps for all the notebook enthusiasts who are watching this now already. So let's go through this step by step. So the first thing that we did since the last time we have been here was we actually did a smaller redo of our documents management part. So you probably know it. Every dashboard or notebook is a document, and we have the sidebar. We also have the documents page, and there we improved the stability mainly. We added some more things to the logging mechanism. We introduced pagination. You also now have filters for differentiating between your documents and the ones that have been shared with you. And what I think is the biggest and the coolest thing about it is you can now also easily recover your documents within a time frame of 30 days.
And so that means if you deleted accidentally a document, then we hold it for 30 days and you can recover it.
Exactly. Yeah, check it out. I will now not go into it for the sake of time and because I think you all know probably who are using it, the page. And let's actually go to the features that we added that are more visual in that sense. The first one that we touched since the last time was table improvements. So the table visualization, I kind of already spoiled here another thing, which is thresholds. As you can see, you can now easily adjust the width of the columns, for instance. If we look at settings, you now also see that there's a new data mapping section where we moved all the column visibility and the columns that you can pick and choose into here separately. And once you're done, you can then switch over to the table options. Here we now have different density modes if you need more space or if you like it a little bit more with space. And then the other available settings, such as enabling line wrap, as you could have seen here, if I wrap, or to enable sparklines whenever there's time series data in your columns.
That is really
cool.
I like
going back to that. I really like that too.
Yeah.
And soonish also threshold colors. I mean, you've seen this here as well already. And you can then also again switch between front and back, but more on this in a sec when we go to thresholds. The next one that I personally like the most because I think it's the most visual. The most visual part is single values for sure. I think one thing that was cool about single values already when we first released this was that they're super flexible and resize very nicely. What we then added over time as well is way more options, as you can tell now. For instance, you now can only show the value, you can show it with a label, you can also show it with an icon. You now have a set of icons that you can choose from that are there out of the box. You can also control the alignment, be it center, left, or right. Or you also can add, as you can tell from here, a trend that will compare the first and last point in time of the time series that you use in the back. And you can also inverse the trend by saying what's good or bad, is up good or bad or down. And last but not least, you can also again have sparklines and even colorize them if you really wanted to. That's for single value. Any questions, Andy?
No, I really like the icon piece because I've seen people just kind of work around with it, using a JavaScript tile and then returning, some Unicode characters or like these emojis to then get icons in there. But now it's really cool that you have a large array of icons. And it seems like a small thing, but sometimes these small things really make a big difference. That's why I'm really happy that you've built this in.
Yeah, shine like a diamond.
I'm like, what else is there? Pie charts.
Yeah, yes, pie charts and donut charts. I think pie should be not so cool because you cannot do this. I think this is one of the tiny little things that I really love that we added lately.
Uh-huh.
So whenever you break down your numbers, you still have the total, for instance, in
Uh-huh.
the middle. We also revamped a bit the settings as well for this, so that you also again have this mapping part as with all other charts by now. And we also tied it up a bit here around how to merge slices. That's a very, very nice way of, for instance, putting, let's actually put 2 instead of 1. Then you see you just end up with,
Ah,
you can actually merge things together,
oh,
like
that's
a
cool.
remainders group, so to speak. Something that wasn't super intuitive at first, so we iterated over it a bit. And you see you have different options of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I mean, I think one tiny thing that was also missing quite a while was to actually, now it doesn't work, but usually you should show up the labels outside if it's big enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also choose between relative and absolute numbers for exactly this. For instance, info here would be relative 89 and absolute 22 million lines of log lines.
Mm-hmm.
The next is categorical bar. Here we also did exactly the same again. We also introduced a data mapping section, and we also tidied up the settings a bit. You now also have monochrome colors if you really don't want to be colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I usually do, as you can tell by
Mm-hmm.
all this. And I think that's also a good segue to go then to the next, which is thresholds. Thresholds, we already had exactly this in Data Explorer and Dashboards Classic. Now we also do have the same beauty, and I think even more beautiful single values now in the new Dashboards app. So you can, as I showed before already for tables, also if we go into the settings here, now choose whether it applies to the back or to the front. You see it in the examples as well. And of course, you can pick colors. Let's actually look at how they're defined. Here you can, depending on the visualization, you can define one or multiple, for instance here. And then another thing that we improved, I would say, is adding ranges now. Now you're not limited anymore, but you have as many as you like. If you have, for instance, not just the classic threefold traffic light, but have more ranges, then you can easily do this now. Another thing you see that I kind of spoil already is you have more operators now. So not
Mm-hmm.
just greater than, smaller than. So you have more flexibility, I think, in Data Explorer, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe you remember better. I think we only had greater than as a fixed operator.
I believe so, yeah. Either you had greater than and then you could reverse the whole thing, but now
Exactly.
you're much more flexible here, yeah.
Yeah. And you don't need to apply some inverse Boolean logic in order
Yeah,
to get
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
simple results,
Yeah.
which we heard a lot and which we now, I think, fixed here in the new version of thresholds.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions to that?
No, I just really like that you just give our users more flexibility because everybody has their unique requirements for building dashboards. As you mentioned, some people are more colorful, some people are less colorful. The background is really important because you can just visualize more things in a more condensed way. And I think that's also why coming back to the table that you showed us in the beginning, just the ability to do condensed or less condensed just allows people to better leverage the space that they have. Yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah, you've already seen how it looks like in the table before, so
Hmm.
we'll skip that and go directly to graph.
Hmm.
Here you can see we don't use the chart anymore fully, but we actually instead have these markers on the side, which then also on hover give you the defined range, as you can see here.
Okay.
Let's actually switch over in order to demonstrate this. It's, I mean, because of the range of the data, only the green one applies here, and this
Uh-huh.
is from 0 to 10K, which you see is the case because the next bound is 10K. So it gives you that already. Coming to another topic that I like because it's seemingly simple, but when you do implement things around that, it becomes very tricky very fast, is topics of units and formats, which we now also have as well in the new dashboards app, and looks like this. So for every tile that you have and for every data that you have, you can pick here which column in essence you want to map. And then if it's and you see it here ready, if it's a time series data, then we pick this up automatically. Here it's, for instance, a byte-based, because I think it's a disk metric that I used, if I remember correctly. Yeah, disk available. It's bytes by default. And then if you want to have any other, it's as simple as looking here. For instance, if you're more in the gigabyte, or actually that's gigabyte, sorry, if you're more in the gigabyte camp, and more according to ISO standards, then you can simply do this. I already did this here for reference. Just switch over to gigabyte, and you see that we then automatically converted from 490 gig to 450 gigabyte.
That's cool. So that means what you're doing here is by default, when we know the unit of the metric that comes back, then that's kind of the base unit, and then you can say what you want to display it with. And if we don't know the unit, then you can even tell us what is this unit, and then you can still use it to convert to something else. Yeah. Perfect.
Yes, exactly. And if you're like me, an individualistic person, then you can also go with your own bit. In that case, my bit, by just applying a suffix, and you can then also simply say, yeah, no unit on top. Or if you just place it, then we also ignore it, as you can see by default anyways. Yes. And the second part of, because it's called units and formats, you can also now apply different decimal places. Here, for instance, it says, okay, since it's already a sort of abbreviated with the unit, you can then also decide how much precision you actually want with this. And that's it. I mean, abbreviate is self-explanatory. I think it's, for instance, if you don't apply a unit, then you just have the classic scalars, which are tera, giga, mega. Then you can just control whether you want to have this on and off, or whether you actually want to see, I don't know, my 1.2 million in revenue as a total and absolute number, rather than 1.2 M.
Yeah.
Tells the story, I guess. And now comes the one that I was looking for almost the most, because I think that's one addition that some already waited for, which is around how do you fetch logs, or how do you fetch metrics easily in I would say fundamental or basic cases where you don't need all the power of DQL and Grail, but you just want to pick a metric or just want to look at log lines. Then this is now, I would argue, way easier and almost the same, or soon to be the same as you used to have it in Data Explorer.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Nice. Yeah.
And let's start with logs. So how do you actually get here? I already prepared this. Usually you would go into the plus menu in order to add a new tile or a new section in notebooks. And then you would get on top a new section in the menu called Explore. And Explore then gives you either a log-based Explore section or tile, or a metrics-based section or tile. Here we already did this for logs. And what you can see is that I now have, with the plus, all sorts of fields and comments that are available. Mainly they are filters, because log lines have lots of columns, as we know, in most cases. And then I already placed some essential ones. For instance, for logs, I often want to look at status. Then it's as simple as putting the status field in here, and then actually choosing which one you're interested in. Or you can also do summarizations via counts of certain fields. For instance, for getting this breakdown or by status, I can summarize by exactly that field, and then I can use it for my pie chart, for instance.
So that's an easy way. Yeah, it's an easy way to basically get the data from logs without having to explore the full power of TQL. But many use cases are really about give me the summary of all of my info and warning logs, and then split it by that status. Yeah, I mean that's perfect.
Exactly. Or I don't know, you have a certain field that defines the source, for instance, and you just want to copy paste this from somewhere else and then get all these log lines. This is now a simple point and click exercise rather than starting off with fetch logs, pipe filter, which that's just my personal take, is way nicer and easier than before with the metric selector. No offense, dear old metric selector. But with the piped language, I found it quite easy to switch over, but I get that particularly at the start, if you have these simple cases, it's way easier to start off with this. And now comes the beauty. Why did I actually mention that a bit? You can, of course, then again pick up where you left here. If you want to go further with DQL, then just in essence copy it, and you will get already the ready-made and finished query.
That's cool. So you can start by point and click, and if you then want to go
Exactly.
the advanced route, you can say, now I want to continue with DQL. Yeah, perfect.
Yes, yes. Another one that I like to show you here is another nice comment that, by the way, then will also be available for other types once we have more of these sections in, is convert to time series. That's obviously handy for logs and also later for events, because these are lots of time-based rows. And then you don't need to do crazy comments, but you just say, give me actually a time series out of this. And this is as simple as doing this. And again, defining then the field by which you want to look at. So this is logs by status over time, as simple as 2 comments, actually as simple as 1 comment.
And that's basically back probably doing a make time series comment out of it. So it's creating a DQL with a make time series. Perfect. Yeah.
Now you are curious, huh?
I am curious. Yeah, because I wanna test my DQL skills that I have here in my
Seems like you're already pro.
Not a pro, but
you get the advanced badge already, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah. You see, you can of course also just do a table. Of course, that's possible. But let's move over to metrics. For metrics, I also prepared examples. It's again very similar, and probably for the ones who use Data Explorer, it should be also very similar in terms of the experience. Once you create this, you get this new box in here. Same for notebooks on top, but you probably will see this with Philip the next time. And then the first thing you can do is you pick the metric. So here we try to replicate as much as possible and try to also make it a bit leaner, what we already used to have in Data Explorer. So you start off with, for instance, with any category, basic category that you're used to, or infrastructure, for instance, and then you traverse and browse through the available metrics, and you get the details to the right, all at a glance. And I think very lean and clean now. And once you pick a metric, you then do the same as you used to. You define aggregation, you define by what you want to split it. And then once you're done, you plot it. Or you do more. You can, of course, also sort or limit for now. So we try to stick to the basics. But no worries, we will also obviously advance here with comments in the foreseeable future. For instance, that you can do the same as you've seen here, just the reverse. For instance, how do I now simply get from time series to value? Right now, it's not that simple. You would probably still fall back to DQL. But soon we will also add the convert to value, and then it's just again 1 comment, and you get your lovely single value as well. But now picking metrics should be way easier. I also showed you already how to then pick up with DQL if you need it. And that's from the Explore section on tile side. Moving on to the interaction part, which is almost the last, I think. So what we did minor improvements, but again, I think you said it a few times in the past already, that the small things are sometimes the most or the very impactful ones. And I want to show some of them. For instance, what we did not have in is simple things, not consistently, let's put it this way. For instance, copying, that's now consistently available for all charts, like also if you're in a table, that you can just say copy exactly that value. So it makes this day-to-day work way simpler and easier. Another thing that I really like, let's see what I have it in here. And if not, maybe you can on the fly create it. Oh wait, I think I had this prepared already. It's the one time I go to notebooks. Here, for instance, and let's maybe start with this also in terms of interactions. So one thing that, let me look up the notebook again. Let me actually use the filter now that I said it
Mm-hmm.
before, right? The new UI comes in handy by others, for instance. And then I see that there is only these left. And then that's actually the board I wanted to go to because this is shared and I only got the view permission, so it's read only. And what did not work so nicely before is that we did not have this in this mode, but we said, of course, it makes sense also in read only to be able to copy. And of course, it also makes sense because you need it and sometimes to go now to your entity, for instance, to actually look at the host application and then have all the context that you would need for this particular host. So this is one thing that now is consistent and in my point of view works better and as it should. And let's go back, look at what else we did because my memory is only as good as for one or two
Maybe want to
bullets.
collapse the sidebar of your browser to have a little more real estate for on the browser as
Yes.
well. Yeah, here we go. Perfect.
Yes, I think other things, and maybe I just do it then. Here is, let me check what I can create this. Create Grail, then data record. Now I do a synthetic UL equals HTTP www.andy.com. Seems something broke now.
But the
Classic
idea
demo
is
effect.
that that's okay. But the idea is that you will be able now to click on URLs and copy them, I think, as well.
Exactly. So
Okay.
the idea is, yeah, you never should demo on a demo environment, I guess. Let's actually go to the playground. Another promotion today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see whether it's available there already. I don't have the version in mind, but I think it's on 82, which should be available here as well. Let's start with a fresh one. Let's do exactly what I just did, which is data record, which is creating this synthetic record. Let's do the HTTP andy.com. And then you should get this URL.
Oh yeah.
It's not here yet, but yeah, then what you would get is exactly here a new entry called open link. And this way you can then easily in your tables or on your record list go to external links.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, Thomas, this is a lot
That
of
would be it.
new stuff. And I know there's more coming. You said Philip is going to do another session
Yes.
on notebooks.
Yes.
And then I know we will have you back on dashboards. There's a lot of announcements also coming out at Perform. And as we are doing bi-weekly releases, so every other week we are releasing new stuff. We can be sure that new stuff is coming on continuous basis, and we'll have you back.
Yes. Yes. And maybe one or 2 minutes on this topic, since I promised it. Awesome. So the question now is, with all these new things, how can you leverage them when you have already a few dashboards created in Dashboards Classic? There will be a way, and there actually already is a way, and I will show you in a few slides because it's quicker. So from a conceptual point, how do we see, how can you or should you be able in the foreseeable future to transition? So our plan is in step 1, and we're actually working on this. You will see this on the next slide. We want to do the heavy lifting, which means all Data Explorer tiles, which are already by far the majority, and all Markdown and title tiles should be easily transferable. And then in the second step, we want to focus on frequent built-in tiles, or the ones you probably also know, like health tiles, SLO tiles, log tiles, or problem tiles. And then in step 3, that's something that needs to be defined later on once we are there, which is what is the remaining tiles that are used enough so that we should also enable you to move over with them easily. One that comes to my mind here, so to make it concrete, is what about the world map, for instance, for RAM data, right?
Yeah.
That could be in there. And then to give you a bit more concrete things, so last quarter we already worked on this, and this will then probably go out with CQ1, which is you get a new upgrade button. And once you hit it, I will show you this in a sec, you get a new dashboard, but let's not spoil too much. In the next quarter, we then look at not just the visualizations that you can move, but also then look how much of the settings we can actually replicate. One that I'm quite confident promising is, for instance, the time frame selector, so that you can have the same time frame set in the old, also in the new one. And then as I already, and I color coded this, by the way, As I already said in the step 2, it would then be all about these 4 tiles that I mentioned, where we would then look at this and try to deliver you or include this in the mechanism. What kind of mechanism, you may ask? Let's actually go into the details with slides. You already should have on your environments this button in the Data Explorer when it comes to tile by tile. So whenever you start there, by the way, you could also use this to use the full flexibility here, because for instance, I mentioned before, there's some comments such as rate, default, or time shift that are available in the Data Explorer, but are not yet available in this new Explore metric section. But you could, that's a funny twist, start off in the Data Explorer, already use these comments, which will then later on trickle in the new, and then just use the open with in order to go from old or from previous or from current to the new, and have all this TQL set as well. That what you were so curious about before when I said, or when I hit the duplicate TQL tile, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Same mechanism in essence.
Perfect.
And then, because tile by tile is nice, as you can see here, you will end up with the same in the new. But what about dashboard by dashboard? It actually already works on our machine, not on yours yet. Hopefully with 285 is where we plan to go out. You will get this new upgrade button. And once you do this, both on the list as well as on the dashboard, as you see. And once you do this, you can then see that we already today managed to move quite a few things here. We are not yet super perfect, but this is like the first step, and we will then continuously work to improve it. So for instance, that you don't see these two, but I want to be transparent about this. We will, as you said, continuously add settings on this side so that they match also the left side. So your current dashboards in Dashboards Classic.
Nice.
But I think
Yeah.
it's already not so bad. I took this with different time frames, so this doesn't match obviously, but the rest does already. You already see you have your new chart. It already uses the metric. It already uses all the settings such as connecting the dots. It already can also convert to category bar chart, etc. And it will get better and better over time.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's great for all of the users that have invested quite a bit in dashboards on the classic dashboards, and now looking forward to move over to the new ones. Awesome.
And I steal from Steve Jobs, who probably stole it from others. There's always one more thing.
Yeah.
So you might also be interested in what's next. I kept it. If I could touch it, I think I can. I have 1 more minute. Let's highlight just a few things. We are working on quite a few exactly around this transition. We are still adding some things that are missing, such as axis assignment or geometry assignment for graph or for single value and table. And we're adding actually something new that goes beyond what you used to have in Data Explorer. So text-based thresholds. I had it on an example below in the board before. So you can also say Andy is awesome. And then once you define this in the threshold definition, it will go green, or what's your favorite color, Andy?
Actually red, interestingly, for whatever reason.
That's funny. Thinking about health of systems. Yeah, you inverse the trend, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Red is good.
Yeah.
Legend. Yeah, so that you can actually map what goes into the legend. Going along with this data mapping notion, new visualizations that will be there soon. I already saw it on a demo system, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. So there's already histograms in on our machines. Honeycombs will be next. Again, also for the transition, interesting. Print view for notebooks. I think that also gets out soon, the next 1-2 sprints. Variables, bigger topic, so that you can nest them. You can have free text variables so that you can default select things as a creator. Additional comments are already spoiled for metrics, rate, default, time shift, interactions will get better and better, also for the explore sections, etc., which I explained before, that you can use almost any interaction in all modes. Copilot for dashboards. I don't want to spoil a lot here, but right now it works, I think, for notebooks. Maybe Philip will then demo this already next time. Yeah. And then transition additions in terms of document management. And one that I really like is, and I hope for that gets in soon, is templates in order to better collaborate and be more efficient.
Perfect.
And more.
And more. And folks, if you're seeing this and it is still before perform, make sure you tune into Perform, we do a live stream, or if you're on site or contemplating to go on site, make sure to find all the relevant people in Vegas and watch out for more recordings of dashboards and notebooks. Thomas, thank you so much. I know it's always a challenge to do live demos on systems that are still in flux, but you did an awesome job as always. And I'm just very happy that you are taking the feedback from the community and really focus on improving the product where it has the most impact. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me, and sorry for not looking at you. I just realized because I demoed on the small screen, I was constantly looking away from you.
That's okay. No
No
worries.
offense.
No worries. All right. Thank you so much, folks. Look at the links on the bottom of the description. We will add probably some links to documentation, also to the playground tenant that Thomas showed. Yeah, and more is to come. With this,
Awesome.
bye-bye and
Looking
cheers.
forward. Bye.